Hello, viewers, and welcome to TradeFlock. Today we have with us Jyotsna Kumar, who's a global technology leader at Google, an author, and founder of Anantyam Qalaa Art. Her journey blends digital transformation, creative expression, and emotional intelligence. She is known for her leadership across regions, building inclusive platforms for artists, and a philosophy that is rooted in purpose, reinvention, and human centered innovation. Today, we will discuss with Jyotsna about her work, what keeps her going, and her plans for the future. So, welcome to the conversation, Jyotsna.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Anamika.
Jyotsna, 19 years at Google, a published author, and an art foundation. What actually drives someone to keep building across such different worlds?
I love the way you framed the question, such different worlds. See, I'm driven by the belief that leadership today cannot be binary by itself, right? It should not have to choose between the precision, let's say, of technology and the soul of the arts, or the fulfillment of getting your voice out formally as an author. They can come together as well. So, my work as a director at Google fuels my hunger for scale, for innovation, for solving super complex global problems. Conversely, if you think of Anantyam Qalaa Art, it allows me to apply that same technology scale mindset to the art world, transforming it from a difficult to navigate space into a thriving ecosystem where Indian artists receive that visibility and the commercial profits that they deserve. And if
Mhm.
you think of my book, Alpha Woman, that's the bridge between these two worlds. It's that manual for how to command power, how to harness power without losing your peace. So I don't necessarily balance these roles in the traditional sense. I think I
Mhm.
more or less integrate them, or let's put it simply, I just sail along very, very naturally. So, yeah, I think it's leading with the same core principles in a strategy meeting as I do in a gallery, with radical empathy, that strategic clarity that we call, and that commitment to delivering impact and movement making. Very, very important. So, when your pursuits are different expressions of the same purpose, which could be lifting others, it could be driving progress, it could be doing transformations, then they don't drain you necessarily. Then you don't feel exhausted. They
Mhm.
start to feed each other. So it's a symbiotic kind of a, setup. So skillful balance is simply the result of knowing that that your persona, your diverse persona, is actually one combined solid foundation of everything that you do. I hope that makes sense.
Yes. But when driving through these different worlds, is there a leadership trait or personal belief that threads all these three worlds together, stitches them? And did you face any kind of a leadership challenge? And I would say I'll add one more question is, what was the biggest lesson that you learned during these times?
Yeah, that leads me to reflect quite a bit. But when I started my career, um, and let's maybe go to Google, I started my journey in 2007. I entered a digital landscape that was still defining itself in its own boundaries. And of course, rising through multiple roles, multiple promotions that come along the way, and thoughtful lateral movements from an entry level account manager to a director. Of course, a climb in title, but it was also a radical periodic dismantling of my own internal operating systems and belief systems. So, to lead at the speed of light, to also make several pivots, the most critical skill isn't what you learn on the way. Um, when I look back, I feel very early on in my career, I learned it's not about what all you learn, but it's a lot about what you unlearn very, very fast. Right. So you have to have that awareness and the courage to unlearn. So
Mhm.
a few things, like, because you asked for leadership challenges, and I think many would be encountering similar things, but I'd talk about maybe two, three there. One is unlearning the doer mindset. When I started, My value was measured by my personal output, my speed, my execution. And I thought being a leader meant being the smartest and the fastest in the room. I had to really unlearn that. When you are in the wrong room, you are the smartest there. You must know that, right? So I think true executive leadership is all about leverage rather than being
Mm,
able to do everything yourself. So your job is no longer to solve the problem, but to build that team, that organization, that psychological safety, and the strategic clarity that enables them to solve it at 10x your individual scale. So I
mm,
shifted from being the hero of the execution to the creator of the environment that ideates, executes, and also creates impact at a very, very fast pace. So there are many such unlearning things that happen, but unlearn would be that most important standout lesson that I would refer to if I look back.
mhm. Okay. So, uh, talking about AI, which is kind of becoming omnipresent, executives and the business owners, they want to replace the human factor with the AI factor. There are challenges, and indeed, people are not ready to basically accept and understand if they really need to have those AI capabilities, or it just going
Mm.
with the hype, right? But there is also another element is if they replace human with AI, and every company does that, as an organization and leader, whom are we going to sell our products and services and offerings to? And if that is happening, how are you building those human elements within your organization and keeping it alive rather than making it very technology savvy?
Yeah, a question that's asked, that's deliberated upon all the time. And it's a good question because I don't think anybody has perfect answers to these. Every second day, our responses evolve. Um, so, where I operate in my day job, I think we operate at the bleeding edge of technology. To put things very, very simple out there, deploying AI at a global scale to drive efficiency, optimization, predictive powers, all kind of businesses that we are thinking about. To me, human centric AI innovation means treating AI not as a replacement for human capability. It can't ever be, but as its ultimate amplifier. So AI, if you think of it, Anamika, it excels at processing data. It excels at identifying micro patterns and removing operational friction, and all at lightning fast speed, on the go, real time, right? It clears the administrative debris so that human can do what only humans do best, which is create, empathize, and strategize. Put all of this together by the virtue of AI, by the help of AI, you could do all of this much better than maybe what you did 2 months ago or 2 years ago. So for now, I say that one line I would never cross, is allowing technology to replace human taste and moral intuition. You absolutely need the human context and the intelligence to be able to take care of that. AI, honestly, it can synthesize historical data to predict what might work based on the past look like, but it cannot feel the cultural zeitgeist if we
Hmm,
talk about that, right? Being deep
true.
into fine arts as well, I can say that with utmost confidence that AI can create a reference point. It can create an art piece as well. Let's call it an art piece for the
Hmm,
sake of ease, right? It can create that, but it cannot understand the soul behind the stroke of paint, the
hmm,
emotional nuance of a brand's narrative, or the ethical weight of a systemic decision, right? So intuition is the sum of human experiences, empathy, the cultural context. It's a leap of imagination, whereas AI is a calculation of probability, right? That's how I see the two worlds merge, and yet at the same time stay in very differentiated zones.
Great. So now let us talk about Alpha Woman, the book you authored. Were there certain experiences or incidents that inspired you to write Alpha Women? And if you could like what kind of a brief power of leadership narrative have you mentioned in Alpha Women that can help women entrepreneurs or professionals become more armed?
The book is full of those lessons, but just to bring a little bit of context into the soul of the entire construct itself. Look, in the traditional Indian societies, women are rigorously trained to be consensus builders, to seek validations and to also seek permissions or wait for permission. Um, it's not about that being wrong at all. Yet, there's a different perspective. We are taught to be good students who follow the rules flawlessly. But the corporate circles or the professional world does not reward good students. They reward rule makers. I don't even say rule breakers, rule makers, right? So, being there, the hardest part for women making the shift from seeking permission to running precedence is overcoming that cultural guilt of taking up space unapologetically. So, when you decide to own a precedent yourself, you stop saying, is it okay if I do this? Right? And you start
Mhm.
saying, here's the direction we are going to take. It's a massive difference in the two sensibilities. So that shift can feel highly disruptive, not just to that person, but to all the people around that person. And it requires a deeply honest internal anchoring. And that's why I talk of peace. You have to unlearn, the word which I referred to earlier, you have to unlearn the need to be liked. Why do you seek validation? You seek validation so that you're liked. You told me and I did this. I was wanting to do, you also said yes to this. Right? So you have to unlearn the need to be liked and replace it with the confidence to take ownership for the things you do, for the decisions you take. So that's the sharpest pivot that someone can make. And that's the essence of the book. It's written in various different hues, but that would be one massive takeaway, if not many others that we could chat about. But since you asked for one, I wanted to stay honest in my response.
So, yes, you very correctly said the validation that women look for, whether it is at home or at office, and we need to break that rule completely. So, talking about you, was there any such incident that actually prompted you to break the rule, become that aggressive leader that makes decisions that 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 becomes fruitful?
Anamika, first of all, maybe a few mm, myths about me at any point in time. Sometimes I may be perceived and seen that way. A very assertive leader, those are true. It's contextual though. You don't need to be assertive in everything and at
Yes,
all
very true.
times,
Yeah.
right? And there's never one moment, and there's
Mhm.
never one big situation or a life change that happened that led somebody to become. It is, we are different personalities. We are born different, right? People say there's placement of stars, there's whatnot, the genes that you're born with, karma that you had in the past life, all of that kind of, builds who you are. So I feel I play really well to my natural capabilities. But at the
Mhm.
same time, when you have plenty of self awareness, or rather, you make room to practice self awareness, you have tools and techniques that you have created for yourself or you have borrowed. There's so many that exist in the world, and then you apply those to yourself. That self awareness tells you what is it that you are doing that probably is for highest good, for your own
Mhm.
highest good and for those you carry along, and what is it that you need to do slightly differently. The outcomes could still be the same, but you doing that differently would bring you more peace, more happiness, more joyfulness, a lot more serenity. Maybe you're not looking for those, you're looking for power. It brings you more power, not at the cost of peace. So it is that. So one is staying true to your natural self, but at the same time, not becoming arrogant about that natural self. Having the courage to self disrupt. The most humble people are those who are most confident. Why I say that? I say that because they are confident in who they are, how they are. They take accountability for their behaviors, for their actions, and the consequences of those actions. They are self aware and hence they know what they need to totally disrupt about themselves. Maybe a certain way that they talk, a certain way that they come across, a certain way in which they behave, in certain situations. So it's about self destruction as well. So yeah, that's what I'd refer to. Play by your natural strengths. Keep an eye out of where you think the deficiencies could be. Don't become arrogant about those. Be humble, and as you grow, your roots will only become broader and deeper. Make those changes. You're not going to move, you're not going to fall off because your roots are very broad and deep at the same time.
Exactly. And the most important part that you mentioned is don't be arrogant. I think
Yeah,
that's the point which can destroy all that you have created,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. So we have spoken about the technology side of you. We have spoken about the author that's there. Uh, Let us talk about the art side of you. Uh, what inspired you to start with your foundation? And how are you bringing those changes within the lives of the artists through your foundation?
Yeah. So first of all, I'm often asked this, like, why did you even think of starting an art foundation, right? There's hundreds of things that exist in this world. You could have done something which seemingly were a lot more tied to what you were doing, right? I don't think
Exactly.
I was solving for any internal gap.
Mhm.
Motivation wasn't coming from any gap, an internal, deficiency that I was trying to fill. No gaps, but I've always liked different flavors,
Mhm.
very different flavors. They do converge, is what I believe, right? Today, these flavors can be seen by the world, but they were always there, quiet and humble, serving me and me only. It's a way of diversifying my own internal ecosystem, Namika. So, if you think of that, so first is a very selfish motive. This has always been there. I come from a family of artists. My grandfather was an artist. He was very respected, very revered. He never had any commercial success though. And I have, while I was very young, before, by the time he passed away, I still do recall the struggles that he had as an artist, although he had so much respect. And which is why the next generation, which is my father, he never even looked at art. He had those capabilities. Now, me, come to this generation, I have, like, my fingers are limited when it comes to skill. I can't do art,
Mhm.
but I have a very strong commercial astuteness, commercial savviness when it comes to art. And that also goes to my background, my professional background. So that's where I thought that if I put all of this together, it satisfies an internal ask that I've had forever. And at the same time, I'll be indulging in something that has no way to nurture in my life if I don't do something concrete about it. And that's how the art foundation, or the art enterprise rather, took shape, because foundation is one part of the enterprise that I run. It's a massive part of that enterprise, but it's more of an enterprise rather than just a foundation. So, like I said, they were always there, quiet and humble, serving me and me only. It's a way of diversifying my own internal ecosystem. I always say I'm a wild soul who can give her 100% to anything in that moment of time. So, if I'm with my daughter, I'm fully absorbed with her in a quality discussion. Similarly, when I'm in driving a long range transformation, I'm in it fully. And when I'm with the artists, I find incredible peace and aspiration, ambition discussing their work and their potential as well. Right. So that's what I feel. Also, if you think of the art scenario itself in Hyderabad, in India at large, it's a very guarded space. It's very difficult for artists to crack their way into it. Many do, it could be a matter of pedigree. It could be coming from a certain kind of a background, or it could be sheer luck. But it's a fiercely guarded space. And it is when powerhouse institutions start to build themselves up and force their way into these safer, guarded spaces. And I
Mhm.
have to say, like, it's been less than 2 years. and more than 14 artists who got visibility and also found commercial success working with the foundation.
Great.
Less than that. So it's massive, massive success. I do feel it's not even like a drop in the ocean that we have in front of us. Yet we know that the early successes that we have had speak volumes of the sincerity and the intensity that has gone into driving this. So I personally don't expect emotional, or rather total emotional fulfillment from just one thing all through. My ecosystem is beautifully distributed across my corporate leadership profile, my art venture, my passion for writing, my family premise, and my non negotiable, perennially beginner level spiritual practices as well. So, all of these things actually come together. If ever the high stakes tech landscape at Google feels isolating, I step into the soulful, vibrant world of Anantyam Qalaa, engaging with artists to see through the world through a completely different prism, and
Mhm.
that's a great ground for ideation as well. So by living a multi-dimensional life, I think I get the privilege of having a bird's eye view across industries, across movements and cultures, which I absolutely treasure.
Great. Uh, Throughout this journey that you have spoken, whether it is interacting with the artist, looking across and uh,
Mhm.
absorbing those elements where that helps you author a book, or having those bird eye view to see where and how technology intervention can make a larger difference in the world across. Do you also see the definition of success changing through all these years since you started to now that you are doing so much? And if you have to talk about those differences of success, how would you do that?
uh, Anamika, it feels like a standard interview question. How has your definition of success changed? But my honest answer is it hasn't changed. My
Hmm.
definition of success hasn't changed. It has just matured over the
Hmm.
years, right? So when I first started my career, or even when I did not start, even when I aspired to do something, step into the world, success meant having a voice at the table. It meant driving meaningful change at
Hmm.
scale. And it also meant growing in the material sense. All the material perks, benefits, compensations, everything that come along. This is what success meant to me. And all three almost equal in terms of weightages if I assign those. Today, also, it means the exact same thing. The scale has changed. That's all that I would say, right? So the only difference is then I was chasing the opportunity to do all this, get all this. Today, I have the privilege to create several such opportunities myself, and for many, many, many others around me. You
Hmm.
see, that's the major distinction. We often mistake scaling our impact for changing our values directly, changing the value system itself in the first place, right? So if your core definition of success was authentic to begin with, it doesn't need a rewrite really. It just needs room to breathe. I feel comforted to say that the promise I made to myself at the beginning of my journey are the exact same metrics I judge myself by today. So yeah, I hope that takes care of what you asked me.
Yes, yes. Jyotsna, the last question before we end this interview is looking at the vast experience that you hold in the industry and the way you have been nurturing people across around you. Is there
Mhm.
any word of wisdom you would like to share with the young women professionals or entrepreneurs stepping into the leadership role?
You're asking me one. This time I'll talk about two.
Hmm.
Anything less than that, I find it very difficult to say. I'm trying to optimize. I would have my favorite is three, but I'll optimize and make it two. So the first one I would say is that's related to what I just said in your for your previous question. True alignment. Right? Define your true alignment. Like true alignment isn't about changing your destination with seasons as such. right? It's about having that conviction to follow the same compass no matter how far you travel, right? So that's number one. Second, that I would say, and no cliches on this second one, I am a hardcore impact person and also a hard task master, first for myself and anyone who comes in my vicinity. Nothing but your very best. Most of the things I wrote in my book as well aren't meant for women alone. They are universal, just
Mhm.
articulated by me who identifies as a woman, so written by a woman's lens, a woman who holds strong points of views, usually guided by life experiences of her own and many many others around. So here's my second advice: practice 10x extreme ownership. True leaders never subscribed to the transactional, call it mediocrity, transactional mediocrity of itne mein itna hi milega.
Milega.
For any of our audiences who may not understand Hindi, all that it means is I'll give only what I'm paid for or
Mm.
what I can get out of this. That is the language of a wage earner. So if you aspire to be that, so be it. Hold that mindset, right? So that a leader does not speak like this. A leader in the making will never have this mindset. So, if you want to build a legacy, whether in the job that you hold, the enterprise that you are building, or the family that you nurture, you must give 10x of your passion, 10x of your intellect and
Mm.
your execution without demanding an immediate return on your investment. The secret to exponential success always is that the market eventually rewards raw excellence with disproportionately high compensation and visibility, eventually paying you 10x for the impact you created, right? But that massive reward is actually a lagging indicator. Most of us want that to become a leading indicator. It's not. It will always be a lagging indicator. A true
Mm.
leader does not start by giving 10x after they reach the top. They give their absolute maximum when they are at the very bottom, when there is zero line of sight to the throne, right? And when no one is watching. So, by embedding this uncompromised work ethic into your operational DNA early on, you stop chasing success and instead you start to create a gravitational pull that makes massive, disproportionate rewards inevitable, right? I'm a living, small, humble example of that. I'm surrounded by leaders, people I know who are exactly just that, right? So that would be, an ultimate advice for growth, success, and peace. Like I always said,
Mm.
any power, any success without peace is just chaos, and you
Yeah.
don't want your life to be chaotic.
I would like
Yeah.
to add one question here, Jyotsna. With so much in your hand, how do you end your day? The kind of uh, value or satisfaction that you go on your bed with, what is that?
Um, I think ending the day with a sense of gratitude is all that's needed. And gratitude is never a function of how your day was,
Mhm.
it's an attitude. So, when you have an attitude of gratitude, you are peaceful always. It could be so called a very difficult day, when you look at it from a practical lens, yet that difficulty might have shown you the mirror. That difficulty might have shown you a lesson. It might have shown you a deficiency that you were not aware of. So, gratitude can just be an attitude, regardless of how it was. Similarly, waking up. The fact that you woke up itself is gratitude, right? You can have gratitude just for that. So, if I had to simplify it to the nth level, it's just gratitude. That's how I end my day. It's
Mhm.
very simple. Uh, most of us are overthinkers. Gratitude can put an end to overthinking like magic in that moment, almost immediately. Right? So that's about it. Let's not think too big of ourselves. Very, very small. As long as you know that everything that's happening is for your ultimate good, you will have gratitude. So that's how I end my day.
That's nice. I think that's something most of us do not follow. We just plan for the next day, the next year, and we forget to thank God for whatever we have.
Simplest thing to do.
Yes. So that was all
All
from
right.
my end, Jyotsna. It was such a pleasure talking to you and knowing how you are actually working towards changing and bringing innovation to all the dimensions that you are into, whether it is technology, whether it is encouraging or inspiring women entrepreneurs and leaders, or the artists across you. I think this interview is going to help people across all of these segments and more. And I would say even the students to streamline their capability, their mindset to a way that could help them achieve success.